Okay, Pete here is going to try to hit that target with the Devastator, a rocket launcher designed for Ratchet and Clank.
Oh, man! Oh!
The Devastator. One of 36 weapons and gadgets not fit for this world.
Hello and welcome to the Hypertrophy Odyssey, chapter 262. It is the first day of the week, aka the Kamehameha workout. I am feeling wonderful. It is a little early today, so looking forward to this workout. But anyways, to the main subject, which is a continuation of this ongoing series that I've started that will continue to go after this. I don't know how many parts it's going to be. I think it's going to be 5 or 4, not 100% sure, but I will have to wait and see. But part 2, which is, I'm just going to call this series the end of video games. Part 2, which is the peak, because the peak of video games have already happened. Now, I want to make this argumentation very simple. Everything that video games have been based off of are from this time period of video gaming. It is from that era of gaming. And there are some bleed-ins in between. There are things that come from before. There are things that came after, obviously. But realistically, this is the peak. The peak lasted 3 generations, and we'll talk about that. And also, we'll talk about PC as well in there. Even though I wasn't an avid PC gamer, there were some highly notable things that happened in the early 2000s for PC gaming. So I want to discuss those as well. But this video is just basically me arguing the fact that that was the peak of gaming. And we have never gotten there ever again since then, and we will probably never get there again realistically, at least in this console cycle, I'll say that. So it sucks because it was the peak. It was the peak. It was the unarguable peak. And I will have my arguments in the voiceover because there is going to be some idiot that's like, no, it wasn't. Technologically, we weren't. No, the arguments will kind of state themselves as soon as they are said, because realistically, once I say the arguments, you're going to be like, oh, right. So there is that. But personally, well, we'll get into how I feel about that and the entire idea of the fact that we peaked in video gaming, which is kind of annoying, but we'll talk more about that later. But for now, I'll say this. I think that looking back at that time, it's very interesting to think about how good we had it. And you could literally do very little to no wrong in those eras where you could go to any direction and you'd still have a good time no matter what. Sure, there were exclusives. Sure, there were this, there were that, obviously. But depending on what type of flavor you liked in video gaming, you were able to get it, and in good quantity, and with classics. Like games that people to this day still play type of style. It's interesting to think that we just didn't know how good we had it until it was over. And now that it's been over, it's quite saddening. But we'll get into that and all the other stuff that goes along with it, and my argumentation as to why that was the peak of gaming when we get to Mother Base.
All right, so started this day off with dips, which were pretty good. But anyway, back to the main subject matter at hand. The end of games part 2, the peak of gaming. So the main reason why I'm saying that this is the peak of gaming is because I truly believe it was. We had 3 generations back to back to back that were some of the best games of all time to this day, where people are still clamoring for them. If we look at the 3 major companies, even PC, which we'll get to, we can look at the majority of the influence of that we have today comes from these 3 generations back to back to back. We have the N64 PS1 era, as well as the PS2 Xbox Original and GameCube, and then finally culminating with the PS3, the 360, and the Wii. Now, this is just simply the best video games have ever been, and possibly the best video games ever will be. And those who are arguing against me or say, no, we have gotten better since then, literally every single franchise, for the most part, there are a couple of exceptions, were created at this period of time that everybody is still clamoring for to this day. If I were to just list them off the top of my head, this is in no particular order as well. So the Metal Gear franchise, Kingdom Hearts franchise, Halo franchise, Super Mario 64, which was huge because it was basically the revolution of 3D platforming games, Mario Sunshine, the Dead Space games, Castlevania, Resident Evil, Devil May Cry, Onimusha, all the Rare games that they ever released, the Need for Speeds, particularly Underground, Grand Theft Auto in all of its original stages, because even 5 goes that far back. Street Fighter 3, which is still played to this day in tournaments, as well as Super Smash Bros. Melee. Well, you also have that franchise as well around this time that people still play to this day. The Call of Duty franchises, that's still happening to this day. Fable, Left 4 Dead, Portal, Counter-Strike, the Fable series, the Killzone series, Infamous, Assassin's Creed, the original Batman games, the Arkham Asylum and Arkham City games, Final Fantasy VII in particular because they made it 35 times, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, Gears of War, the God of War franchise, Gran Turismo franchise, Jak and Daxter, Twisted Metal, the Uncharted games, Ratchet and Clank games. Special shout out to the Sly Cooper franchise because I've been wanting one of those games for fucking ever. The Spider-Man 2 game, which is very particular because that was the very first one that had those open-ended city swinging parts, which were amazing. The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time, and Majora's Mask, as well as Twilight Princess, which are some of the highlights, and I'll throw in Wind Waker as well because I know that a lot of people are fans of those. The Mario Kart games, the Animal Crossing games, the Mario Party games, all of the Mario sports games. Hell, you can put Mario in here because a lot of the shit that he's done was around this time. All of the Pokemon games, all of them. Then looking at it from the PC side of things, we had StarCraft, we had Minecraft, we had Half-Life, Doom 3, the Doom games that came later, but Doom 3 was a huge deal when it came out. I remember Steam became something. I remember when Steam sucked when it originally came out and was more of a hassle than anything. Dota, BioShock, World of Warcraft, The Witcher games, Civilization, Unreal Tournament 2004, Quake, Warcraft 3, Diablo 2, The Sims, all of these things that have been around for such a long time that so many game companies are trying so hard to get back to it. But they can't because basically they just have to keep rehashing the same things over and over and over again. And this is me scratching the surface on some of these things. There's so many games that I'm not even touching upon, or franchises I'm not even touching upon here, because there are just so many, and you could still go back and play a lot of these games via emulation or whatever you want to do and just have a great time because they were so good. And there were so many that you could miss. The only thing that doesn't really hold up nowadays is the Wii. But even then, it's just graphically, it doesn't hold up. But even still, there are people who enjoy those games and still have fun with people, because even to this day, whipping out a Wii during a party would still be pretty cool because it is vintage now. So it's like, hey, let's do this random thing that we used to do all the time beforehand. So even what was considered the lowest end of all of the consoles is still pretty cool to pull out on today's day and age, because there's something fun about swinging your hands around and being physical with a game. This was the time when the games were the best. And I don't think that there are enough arguments to make for modern gaming to say that it is now the peak. Because now the only thing that's different now are graphics. That's literally it. The gameplay is majority the same. And now we have to look forward to way less innovation when it comes to actual gameplay, storytelling, and all of those things. We have to now look at some other things instead. We must look at graphical enhancements as the only real thing, when this part of gaming was so good because everybody was eating, everything was doing well, online wasn't a huge fucking deal, and even things like online that are now a requirement for everything is just more of another way where they can nickel and dime us. Like, once we bought a game back then, we owned it. That's it. Now we don't even have that anymore, really, which is very, very troubling for the future. But we will get to that in the future episode. But I'll say this about this time. It was some of the best video games ever. All of the time, no matter what you could say about it, most people will just go back to play these because this was the peak. Maybe it was because I grew up in it, but realistically, there wouldn't be so many people that'd be clamoring for it if it wasn't already some of the best stuff around. Tekken, Tomb Raider, Crash Bandicoot, Far Cry, Fallout, Forza, Command and Conquer, Metroid Prime games, Prince of Persia, Monster Hunter, and the 2K games before they were just relegated to Madden status only.
The most powerful game system now has the ultimate holiday offer. Get Tetris Worlds and Star Wars, Clone Wars, 2 months of Xbox Live and an Xbox for only what? Rated E to T. Xbox. It's good to play together.
And we're back. Welcome to the workout debriefing. Exercise was not filmed. None. Exercises skipped. Also none. Got everything in, thankfully. I'm feeling very good. I am feeling actually very excellent, very hungry, so I'm going to go take care of that. But anyways, back to the main subject matter here. The peak of video games. That's basically what I've been talking about this entire time. And looking back on it, I guess it is somewhat sad that we've peaked. It's kind of weird. It's like once you can look back and analyze and assess how everything is going, you can kind of take a step back and realize you don't really know how good you have it until it's gone, really. With all of the things that have happened in video gaming since then, and also the things that have transpired in this little section of gaming that to this day still is influenced everywhere. I mean, I've probably already listed off the amount of franchises, but the people yearn for a lot of the stuff that was during this time. I mean, countless things. Every single time you hear that people want a collection of this game or of that game, they need to be a sequel to this old franchise, that old franchise. It's always the same things because those were the times when the times were the best. And it's so crazy to think that we didn't know that we had it so good. We really didn't. We had so much good stuff on the horizon. There's so much stuff that's still probably unplayed by you or by myself even that are from that time that I would love to just go back and experience because it is so good. It was such a golden time to just actually play games. So you were lucky if you got one that became your thing. Mine became Metal Gear. Huge Metal Gear fan. Happened to just buy it for a random reason. Those types of things don't happen anymore. You don't just kind of go somewhere and find something and you're like, oh, the box looks cool, let me try it out. That doesn't exist anymore. That's what I did for Metal Gear Solid 2, and that was the first one I played. That became my favorite game, and then it became my favorite franchise of all time. Literally because I thought the box looked cool. That was it. There was no like me looking anything up. There was no me playing the game beforehand. None of that. It was literally just that one. And that was it. And that was such a simplistic thing that I think is missing nowadays, that there's so much options. I understand that I've talked about it before in this episode, the Netflix effect, but I think that we took that type of stuff for granted and now there's nothing like that anymore. And it sucks knowing that it's like that was the peak of stuff and that it'll never be as good as it once was. Now, obviously, I'm not the next generation of gamers, but there's a whole other subject when it comes to that when we'll get there eventually in this series because that'll be slightly different. But they won't understand what it's like back then, except for the fact that they'll see remnants of a lot of these things, mostly coming in the terms of Fortnite skins from past characters that they're like, where is this from? Yet people will clamor for these types of things. And it just sucks because you know that no matter what they try to do, even if they try to like reimagine or remake any of these games, it's just not going to be the same because it's the people that were there are no longer there. They're all the passionate people that were there when they were making it, when things were good, are just no longer there. They're doing other things and they're more important things in their lives, or just things that pay the bills, where they don't have to worry about being overworked or anything like that. It just sucks because now it's like knowing when the good times are over, it's kind of like, what do you have to look forward to? It's very sad and it sucks. It really does suck. I would love to hear if you have any argumentation against this. If you are somebody who believes that gaming hasn't peaked yet and we are living the peak right now, I would love to hear the argumentation against it, because I just genuinely would like to know why. And I'm not going to say you're wrong, because everybody's entitled to an opinion, but I really do think you can just see the mountains of evidence that prove the contrary. I mean, it's not that hard to look at something like, I don't know, the millions of ports of every single game from those eras into other things and things like that. So the amount of times that I can play Kingdom Hearts on something random, or the fact that I can play a Kingdom Hearts game on an Xbox is kind of insane if you think about it back in those days. The fact that you can do emulation of certain games back in the day that have a specific plumber in them, and people go crazy over that, and they still play those games with emulation, just saying, and they just keep playing it over and over and over again. There's a lot of stuff like that from those eras that that's it. Like, it's like the peak was reached. That's it. It's kind of sad to think about in a way. But I'll say this too. I'm very happy I experienced it when it was happening. It was something where if you experienced it when you experienced it, there's nothing like it. Absolutely nothing like it. To open up a game and just know that it is, you don't know what you're getting yourself into, but it's going to be it happens to just be one of the best experiences ever. It's kind of wild to think about the amount of, like, you just pick up something like a Grand Theft Auto Vice City for the first time. Something like that. You're just taken aback. All of a sudden now you like 80s music. You didn't even know 80s music existed before that moment. You pick up something like, what else? What's one more example of this? That'd be a perfect example. You pick up Call of Duty when you're a teenager, and this all of a sudden makes you think, maybe I should join the military. Obviously, that's not necessarily the point, but the entire idea is that these things influenced a lot of people to their core, where all of a sudden things changed in their lives a lot of the time. It wasn't just like one thing led to another thing. Like, people literally were influenced massively by these games and are still massively influenced to this day about them. But there's just not the same as it once was. It's just not the same as it once was, and it's sad. It makes me sad, but it also makes me happy that I happened to live through it, and I'm glad that I did. And if you didn't, you can always go back and play everything that was there, because it's still good to this day. And even you can even upgrade everything, like the graphics and all that other stuff. So it is what it is. But with that being said, tell me what you think in the comments below. I'd love to know your thoughts and opinions about this one. If you agree or disagree with me, please let me know in the comments below. I will be back on tomorrow with a new video. Thank you very much for watching. I really do appreciate it. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Please share this video with anybody who may or may not like it. I will see you in the next one. Keep it heavy. Stay safe out there. It's starting to get a little hot out there, so just stay cool, I guess. And I will see you in the next one. Peace!